In our society, we often hear the importance of kindness and selflessness, emphasizing the value of putting others' needs before our own. But does anyone tell us that being too kind and caring can be dangerous? We live in a world where we don't always get what we give, because it's full of generous people who see how their giving empties them both financially and emotionally. Could being too kind even put our own lives in danger? Be surprised by the bad things that can happen to you when you're kind. Today, I'll tell you 10 bad things that can happen to you if you're too nice, and I'll show you 4 tough ways to keep people from taking advantage of you. Number 1. High expectations. You will have too high of hopes for people. The Stoics said that we should accept things as they are and not depend on what other people do to make us happy. Giving without asking too much in return keeps you from being disappointed and helps you practice emotional separation, which gives you a calmer mind. Whether we are aware of it or not, it's hard for us to be fully selfless when we give. When we give everything we have, we expect everyone else to do the same. When it's us who need something important, though, you've gotten people so used to having everything done for them that they'll take it for granted that you can handle everything in their lives and yours, especially your own. Because if you don't take care of your own, why would you take care of other people's? In reality, your hopes of reciprocity won't be met, and you'll end up with a bad mood, tiredness, anger, and sadness. Still, if we look at it objectively, people aren't letting you down. They're just doing what you should be doing, which is taking care of their own tasks. Number 2. People will only expect you to give them something. The Stoics say that it's important to remember that real worth comes from acting in a way that is good and logical, not from just doing what other people want. Moderation and giving in a balanced way help you stay in charge of your actions and keep you from getting into habits that hurt your mental health. You've heard your whole life that people are creatures of habit, and this couldn't be more true. People are made to adapt to a pattern, a way of life, and a symphony of things going on around them. The idea of the comfort zone comes from this desire to change. This means that if you're always giving, the people you help will expect you to give them something all the time. You'll lead them into their comfort zones, and they won't have to do many of their responsibilities because you'll be there to do them. If you don't value yourself, no one is likely to look you in the eyes and tell you to think more about yourself. At least don't expect this kind of empathy from the people you help, because they'd stick to their own Robin Hood, which would cost them a lot in their lives. Number 3. Taking on too much. We've all been there, haven't we? You're at a friend's gathering and someone mentions they're moving house next weekend. Before you know it, your hand shoots up, "I'll help!" But deep down, you're already swamped with your own tasks. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature, which means understanding our own limits. Overcommitting isn't just about stretching yourself thin, it's about not being true to yourself. Imagine life as a teacup. Each commitment, each promise, is a drop of tea. Pour in too much and it overflows, making a mess. The Stoics would say, know the size of your cup. It's not about being unkind, it's about being kind to yourself first. Now, I'm not saying don't help your friend move, but maybe offer to help pack a few boxes instead of committing to the whole day. It's the little gestures that often mean the most, and they're much more manageable. Remember that time you promised to help at the school fair, attend a birthday party, and visit your grandma all in one day. By the end of it, you were probably exhausted, irritable, and not very present in any of the activities. That's the weight of overcommitment. So next time, pause before you promise. Reflect on your own capacity. It's not selfish, it's sensible. Number 4, letting others use you. Kindness is a beautiful thing, but like all good things, Too much of it can be harmful. When we're constantly kind, always available, and perpetually agreeable, people might start taking it for granted. It's not always intentional, but it happens. Remember Lucy from the office? She'd always bring in homemade treats. At first, everyone was grateful, but over time, it became an expectation. The one day she didn't bring anything, there were murmurs of disappointment. Poor Lucy felt unappreciated and hurt. The Stoics teach us about the impermanence of things. Just as we shouldn't get too attached to external rewards, we shouldn't become too accustomed to constant acts of kindness from others. Number 5. Always trying to make everyone happy. The age-old desire to be liked by everyone. It's a trap many of us fall into. You say yes when you want to say no, laugh at jokes you don't find funny, and agree with opinions you don't share. But here's the thing. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control others' opinions, so why try? People-pleasing might seem like a form of kindness, but it's often more about our own insecurities, and let's be real, it's exhausting. You're constantly juggling masks, trying to be someone you're not, and for what? Temporary approval. I once knew a bloke named Tim, lovely guy, but he'd bend over backwards just to get a nod of approval. One day he wore a shirt he didn't like because a friend gifted it to him. He spent the entire day feeling uncomfortable, all for the sake of not wanting to upset his friend. But here's the kicker. His friend didn't even notice. The Stoics believed in authenticity. Be true to yourself, and the right people will gravitate towards you. And those who don't? Well, you can't please everyone, can you? Number 6. Thinking you can change people. There's a saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Stoicism echoes this sentiment. We can't control others, only our reactions to them. Yet, many of us with our big, kind hearts try to fix people. We think our love, our advice, our kindness can change them, but often it can't. Think of that friend who always dates the wrong people. You've given advice, listened to their heartbreaks, and even set them up with someone lovely, yet they fall into the same patterns. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's the thing. Everyone is on their own journey, and while it's kind to offer a helping hand, we can't walk their path for them. The Stoics believed in focusing on our own actions and letting go of the need to control everything else. It's tough, especially when you care deeply, but sometimes the kindest thing you can do is step back and let people make their own choices, even if they're mistakes. Number 7. Forgetting to care for yourself. In our quest to be kind to others, we often forget about ourselves. We put others' needs above our own, thinking it's the noble thing to do. But Stoicism reminds us of the importance of self-care. If we neglect ourselves, how can we be of any use to others? Imagine you're a car. If you don't refuel, how can you drive others around? You'll end up broken down on the side of the road. It's the same with constantly prioritizing others. Eventually, you'll burn out. I've seen it happen with my mate Sam. He'd always be there for everyone, always putting himself last, until one day he just snapped. He was tired, drained, and felt unappreciated. It wasn't pretty, so take time for yourself. It's not selfish, it's essential. The Stoics knew the importance of reflection and self-care. After all, a well-maintained soul is better equipped to handle the world's challenges. The fact that you've made it this far into the video shows you're committed to self-improvement. Stay with me until the end, as the last 3 insights are even more crucial. I'll see you at the finish. Number 8. Avoiding disagreements at all costs. Nobody likes conflict. It's uncomfortable, awkward, and just plain unpleasant. So, in our bid to be kind, we often avoid it. We let things slide, keep our opinions to ourselves, and swallow our feelings. But Stoicism teaches us that sometimes conflict is necessary. Avoiding conflict might seem kind in the short term, but it can lead to bigger issues down the road. Small annoyances fester into deep resentments. Unspoken feelings can lead to misunderstandings. Remember that time your flatmate kept leaving dirty dishes around? Instead of addressing it, you cleaned up after them, thinking it was the kind thing to do. But over time, your annoyance grew, and one day you exploded over something trivial. The Stoics believed in facing challenges head-on. It's not about picking fights, but addressing issues before they become problems. It's kinder in the long run, both to yourself and to others. Number 9. Giving too much. Generosity is a virtue, but like all virtues, it can be taken to an extreme. In our bid to be kind, we sometimes give more than we can afford, whether it's time, money, or resources. And while the intention is noble, the outcome can be detrimental. Think of it this way. If you keep draining your bank account to help others, eventually you'll go bankrupt. And then, how can you help anyone? The Stoics believed in moderation. It's about finding the balance between giving and retaining. I once knew a woman, Emily, who'd always lend money to friends. She wanted to help, and it felt good. But over time, she found herself struggling financially. And when she needed help, those she'd assisted were nowhere to be found. It's a harsh lesson, but an important one. Be generous, but also be wise. Ensure your own needs are met before helping others. It's not about being stingy, it's about being sustainable. Number 10. Needing others' approval. The digital age has transformed the way we perceive and express kindness. While many share their good deeds online, it's essential to question our motivations. Are we acting out of genuine compassion, or are we seeking validation? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This timeless wisdom reminds us that true virtue lies in our actions, not in the recognition they receive. Sharing our deeds can inspire others, but it's crucial to ensure our intentions remain pure. When kindness becomes a transaction, its authenticity wanes. The Stoics taught that instead of seeking external validation, we should focus on the intrinsic value of our actions. By doing good for its own sake, we embrace the true essence of virtue. Now let's look at what you can do to stop people from taking advantage of you. Strategy number 1. Pay attention to how you feel because it's telling you something. Based on the Stoic idea of self-awareness, pay attention to how you feel. The Stoics thought it was important to think about yourself, to understand your feelings and wants. By paying attention to your feelings, you can tell if you're giving too much and wearing yourself out mentally. This lets you change your focus and find a good balance. How does it make you feel to help other people? Thinking about yourself and putting yourself first is such a kind thing to do that you should feel like you're walking on clouds when you do it. So if you feel too busy, tired, angry, or used, it's time to listen to how you feel. If something you don't have to do makes you feel so bad, you shouldn't lie to yourself about it. Instead, find out how the help you're giving affects your health. Strategy 2. Don't be afraid of the word no. Following the lessons of the Stoics, you should realize that your time and energy are important and need to be used in a balanced way. Self-control can be shown by being able to say no when you feel too busy or when the request is unfair. Even though the word no makes us think of bad things and sadness, it's normal for us to find it hard to say it. But if we don't learn to say this word when someone wants more from us than we can give, pessimism will take over our lives. Practice in front of the mirror and tell yourself that it's the only way to regain your freedom and avoid unnecessary and possible risks. Strategy 3. You have a time and a place for yourself. respect them. Following the Stoic values of self-discipline and self-respect, it's important to give yourself time and room to take care of yourself. Do what you like exercise, drawing, listening to music while having a cup of tea, or anything else that gets you going. Finish your responsibilities as soon as you can so you can try this out. You should take this very seriously, so seriously that you should schedule this time every day or every week. So if someone asks for your help at that time, they need to be very kind and helpful to you, not to the person. So without remorse, you tell them no and enjoy that time and space just for yourself. If you don't want to be so direct, you can offer to help at a different time, but make it clear that you will only be able to help for a short time because you have other things to do. Strategy 4. Identify energy vampires and distance yourself from them. Following the Stoic principles of self-discipline and wisdom, it's important to know which relationships are good for you and which can drain you mentally. By staying away from people who constantly drain your energy and don't add anything positive, you're taking care of your own health and showing Stoic self-control in your relationships. You should know that if you try to help an energy thief, it won't work. These people overwhelm you with their complaints, their pains, and their catastrophic view of life. Don't bother trying to help them, because if their problems were solved, they would have to stop complaining. That's something they wouldn't tolerate. In conclusion, according to Stoic wisdom, in life, the best measure for things is always the middle ground, and generosity is no exception. If we give too little, we come across as selfish and greedy, while if we give excessively, we end up completely drained of energy, time, and probably money as well. So lean toward the grays, which are still the best choices for finding a balance between putting other people's needs first and putting your own needs first. And if you're ever unsure, just remember the magic word, no. Even more so if they offer to drive you home from the window of their car. Well, there we have it, the winding road of kindness with its unexpected twists and turns. Who'd have thought, right? In our world of likes, shares, and endless scrolling, it's easy to forget the age-old wisdom of the Stoics. But as we've seen, their teachings are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Now, fellow Stoics, as we stand at the crossroads of reflection and action, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever found yourself caught in the snare of excessive kindness? Your stories are the stars that light up this Stoic community, guiding and inspiring fellow travelers on the path of life. And hey, if you've enjoyed our little journey today, why not show some love? Hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell. You wouldn't want to miss out on our next video, would you? So until next time, remember, be kind, be wise, and always be authentically you. To watch more Stoic wisdom videos, select one of the videos that will appear on your screen now. Stay resilient until next time.